the number one resource language learners need. So without wasting your time, I'm basically just going to be talking about the biggest problem and the resource you need to fix it. So it's common sense, the best resource must fix the biggest problem, right? If I can give you the best possible resource for language learning, it should fix the biggest problem you have. And I think the issue with that is you probably don't even realize what the biggest problem you have is. That's kind of the issue of being a beginner language learner. You don't really know what you're struggling with. Like, you obviously know the pain of language learning, but you don't know what's actually causing it. So I guarantee you the biggest problem you're currently facing is structure. And what I mean by that is, I have talked about structure a fair bit because I do think it's not talked about enough, but structure is basically you don't know what to learn to actually learn a language. So obviously everybody starts learning colors and numbers, greetings, etc., but they don't, from there they kind of get confused. And the reason they get confused is because obviously you're a beginner language learner, you don't know what verb conjugation is, you don't know what inflection is of words, you don't know all these word types, adjectives, conjunctions, prepositions. Like, you might know some of them, but you don't know what they all mean. And of course, to learn a language properly, you need to know what all these things mean. Obviously, you might think immediately, oh, I learned English or whatever my native language is without doing that. And the reason you were able to do that is because you were a baby basically and had nothing else to do and had basically 5 or 6 years before you could reach proper fluency. And you don't want to be doing that again. So if you want to learn in 1 to 2 years, which is as fast as it's going to take, you do kind of need to learn a little bit different to how you learnt your native language. So to fix structure, you basically need what is called a complete guide. So there are plenty of complete guides available on the internet. A complete guide is basically a website. It could be a YouTube playlist, but generally it's a website that someone has built, and it has literally everything you might need to learn in that language. So it explains like every, for example, greeting, every color, it's got like little modules. I'll show you a photo in a couple slides. I'll show you now, whatever. It looks like this basically. So if you can see, this is an example of one I use for Russian. As you can see on the left side here, so that blue bar, that has all of these modules in it. As you can see, it's got the Russian alphabet. It's got how to handwrite it because it's a little bit different to typing it. Numbers, basic phrases, and it literally, the number goes down to like God knows what. There's tons of them, and you can just click on each one. The dark blue one, as you can see, is the one I'm currently on in that screenshot, and you can literally just go through and fill out every module, learn everything. Obviously, you have a notebook as well, and that's a screenshot of actually being in one, so you can see it's explaining some words and stuff in Russian. So yeah, that is what a complete guide basically looks like, and they have them, tons of them for free in every single language that you could possibly learn, provided it's not a very obscure language spoken by a small community. So yeah, if you're learning French or whatever, there is definitely a complete guide online, but where do you actually find these? So the best place I would say is I'm actually building a website right now, which is completely free to use, that has tons of different popular languages, like French, Italian, Spanish, for example, with full guides that I've actually made. So I haven't built the guide, but I've got links to everything that you could possibly need and assembled them in a rough order that you would learn them. So link in the description to my website. I'd highly recommend you check it out if you're a beginner language learner, to find resources for free for any language you could possibly want to learn. I am still building it, so not everything is completely accessible, but we do have a couple languages up and running, so definitely check it out. But yeah, that is literally what you need, a complete guide. So type in, that's a screenshot of the website. If you do need a complete guide, you need to search one up because it's not available on my website yet. Just literally type in X complete guide, where X is the language you're learning. So for example, Polish complete guide, you would type that in and then you'd be able to find one. You'd have to go through a couple, but find one that kind of resembles this, where it's basically got a gazillion different modules where like the person who built it has explained every single concept. They've explained how to change nouns. They've explained how to say literally everything. I can't even give you examples. There's too many. Like, here you go, food and drink. They've explained literally everything. And you can go through and learn it all. Obviously, completing every module won't mean you can fully speak the language. You do still need to obviously practice with people. But that's a really, really good start because it does give you structure. I will say, anyone who's used Duolingo, it's obviously very flawed, but one good thing it does have is, as you know, it's like a tree, like you work down each lesson, and that is kind of good in that it does provide a kind of an all-right structure, and that you kind of work through the whole tree, and then once you finished it, you don't actually know the language, but you're somewhat proficient in it. That is kind of what we want. We want that kind of structure, but we want a better version of it. So that's why you need one of these kind of guides. But yeah, that is basically it to this video. It is quite quick. The bottom line is essentially find a complete guide to a language and follow it along, learning each topic one after the other until you know the language. There is more to it than that, but that is a very strong start. And for the people that are struggling to they don't even know what to learn next, if you kind of feel like you're wasting your time, like there's something you should be doing, but you're not doing, this is it. You're missing structure. This is what you need to actually fix that problem. And yeah, experts obviously don't need this because they understand all of the concepts within a language and they can learn on their own. But as a beginner, you kind of need this until you can stand on your own 2 feet. So yeah, we do have the link to my Discord in the description as well, completely free. I'd highly recommend you check it out. And I do offer online coaching as well. Link to my website, that's also on there with the resources. I would highly recommend you check that out if you're a beginner language learner. But yeah, guaranteed refund if you're not satisfied as well. Links in the description, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe.